Hello, 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 my beautiful empresses. Welcome back. Or if you're joining me for the first time, welcome to Embody Your Empress. I'm Sarah King, the beautiful host of this podcast and founder of Empress Nation. Today, we have a guest who has just completely rejected the man-made business prototype. She's trailblazing. She's been doing it for a long time, and she is still just as passionate. Just talking to her very briefly, I already know the feminine, intuitive business approach, which, oh my gosh, so called for. So many women are waking up to the idea of we can do things different. Welcome to Embody Your Empress, Leela.
What a gorgeous name. What a beautiful heart you have. I'm so grateful to be here, Sarah. And I feel like we're going to crack open some things. I feel like there's going to be some really beautiful openings with your trailblazing and your own intuitive approach. I feel like we've been doing the same thing and not even knowing one another. So welcome, old friend, new friend.
Oh, I know it's like that connection of souls. As soon as you popped on the screen, it's just like, oh, my sister, she's here. So
Nice to meet you, sister.
tell us more. Tell us who you are as a human, who you are on the soul level, how it came to be interactive, and how you got on this mission here.
Wow, I love introducing myself as someone who is well acquainted with rebirthing. I feel like we've all been initiated into some level of rebirth in 2025, and my life has been a series of polarities of being a strict Christian, devoted, obedient for 36 years, and now I've been out for 6 years, rebelliously dancing to the beat of my own drum with no bra and sometimes naked, often under the moon, and really exploring the feminine arts and what we've been taught is dangerous and wrong can actually be deeply liberating and deeply initiative to our homecoming in our bodies. So I feel like all of these ways, my first son, it took me 3 days laboring to give birth to him. My second child, our little girl, was 3 hours, and it was an orgasmic birth. I had no pain whatsoever. So my life is just filled with all these polarities. And I get like all of this time on this one end, and then it flips. So I never know what's coming next, but I do know that as we sacrifice who we made ourselves into, that we can actually return to something that is far more true and clear, an ancient part of us that has never been expressed before. And that for me, rebirthing professionally is just such a powerful way to stand in conviction for the medicine we've been given to share.
My goodness, my heart. The word that really struck a chord there was sacrifice.
Mm,
So much sacrifice,
mm.
particularly as women. I know the male gender habit too, but as the feminine side, living in the patriarchal world, sacrifice
Yeah.
is such a forefront.
Yes, there's so much social conditioning that requires us to give up, right, what we want, what we need in order to accommodate others. And some of us have played that role for long enough that, my family wraps around me as well as I wrap around them. So we meet once a week and we're like, right, what's going on for everyone? So that we're pooling our resources and accommodating to make sure everyone needs are met. And for me, this is so important to make sure that we're not sacrificing our truth as we love the people that are important to us. Hey, what does sacrifice mean for you, Sarah?
Sacrifice means hiding your soul, giving up your soul, turning off that intuitive part, and just going with what the status quo says or what the people around you are saying for like
Mm,
to keep the peace in air quotes, but you're sacrificing your own soul, your own needs, what you are here to be doing. I
mm,
see a lot of women sacrificing.
mm,
Their husbands need something or their kids need something. And I'm always of the thought, if I'm being true to myself, if I'm stepping into what I'm called to, if I'm following my intuition in the present moment, there is no need to sacrifice anything because
mm.
everyone will be having the ripple effect around me. my vibration is going to flow onto them, and it's not having a cake and eating it all situation for me. Sometimes there is an ebb and flow. Sometimes, the swirl comes in. I know my children are still young as well. Like I have a 9 and a 4-year-old. Sometimes I get sick. Sometimes I have to reschedule, and that's okay because I give myself compassion and empathy and like kill the judgment on it. And I think that's where I thought I had to sacrifice my dreams, my soul calling, in order to be the perfect mother, when in fact, to be a great mother to my children, I am showing them that I'm following what I'm meant to be doing here.
That's beautiful. I'm so moved, and I agree. The ripple effect of someone really showing up committed and self-devoted, right, to the inner call, it really does. It reaches far and wide, and no wonder you resonate with Empress. That's so Empress energy, right? The feminine that basks in that connection with the divine and is able to be in her medicine so much that it exudes from her. So I'm very moved to hear what you're bringing in motherhood, and I'm the same. This is where we've really been taught professionally to posture into the version of ourselves that we think will appear to be valuable or successful. But who I am professionally is the exact same human as I am mothering, the exact same woman that makes love to her husband, the same one that gets on a call with a friend. And I feel like this is such a revolutionary time to really integrate our integrity and bring it into our profession. And so that's where I've kind of found myself specializing for the last 7 years, because my life just initiated me again and again and again. And it's so vulnerable to bring forward our truth professionally because we fear the shame, the backlash, the potential exile. I've gone through all of that, and there's just a heck of a lot of freedom on the other side.
Well, what's calling to me right now is that old saying of just leave it at the door. That always stuck with me. That was drilled into me like early in my, going out, sort of working, even as a teenager. Oh, you're having a bad day, you need to leave it at the door. You're feeling
Wow.
emotional, leave it at the door. And that drilled into me. And that has been on my mind the last couple of years, where I completely reject that saying 100%. And I would love to see more women, especially women that work corporate, around in a very masculine environment, because we are emotional beings. We do have feelings. To switch it off when you get to work for 8 to 12 hours a day, because let's be real, people in corporate, they don't really work 8 hours, they work longer than that. To flick off a switch when you're in the middle of your cycle, or you have things going on at home, you are fighting with your partner, your kids are sick, they need you. To see, like, I don't know if you've ever been in that situation. You've seen kindy cooling because someone's unwell, and you're in the middle of a meeting, or I was in the middle of an event talking one day, and I could see my phone going off, and that mother guilt kicks in,
Yeah.
and just like, what? And I completely decided to reject that saying, leave it at the door. And now I'm just like, I am open and honest when I am in the middle of my professional flow, because I am human. And like you said, we are just human. We are the one person. Stop trying to have so many multiple sides that we're putting into boxes, and we're masking, rejecting those
Exactly.
other parts of us at the same time. I love that so much.
Well, you're a fellow rebel to be throwing that right rule out the door, because that is for me the whole pathway in business, was to continuously see the expectations that I put on myself and that others put on me, and the standardized sayings like this, leave it at the door. There's so many in business. And you have to systematically dismantle every one of them to really create that sanctity and sanctuary for who you are to safely emerge. And I feel like whenever we're called to business as women, it's to dismantle. There's always a dream for what we're here to build. But I believe nothing truly comes to life without something being deeply destroyed and ripped away and weeded out.
Oh, I love that. I was actually just in a room yesterday I was at a workshop full of business women, and the theme, the topic was it's okay to tear down your work and have the reinvigorated part come through, because being the same constantly, it's
Yeah.
not how we're wired. We're wired like that rebirth that you mentioned,
Mm.
to transform and rise up again as a new evolution. And then again as we go. And again, it's another rejection of the status quo of
Mm.
you're seen as flaky if you
Yeah.
are constantly changing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
However, if you are in the present following your intuitive guide, you are always changing what you're doing. You're evolving and you're flowing and growing. And that's the beautiful thing about this world right now, is it's so easy to change what we're doing, to step
Mm.
into this is my direction, this is where I'm called to be going, and flowing. And it's such a feminine aspect without being so rigid.
Mm, yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm 7 niches in, and if we are called to the transformational healing arts, which every woman is in one way or another, you can't facilitate transformation without being transformed. So I would give a particular amount of time and really devote myself to those clients and again see that they were mirrors, right, for my own story, my own transformation, and where I had been blessed and guided intuitively to get to the top of some mountain, someone at the bottom would be like, how'd you get there? And I was like, oh gosh, well, I did this and this. And that was when I started writing my books and I started just going, I'm gonna really integrate what I've done, and then I would stand on top of it, but then that would bring that next wave of clients. So I only got into business because I'd done 3 years of heart healing work with clients, and they ended up majoritively being healers and coaches. And they said, can you offer us business coaching because you've publicly shared your story, you're fully booked, we see, you've raised your rate so many times. And I really feel like this is the gift for us as women, that all of this dismantling and all these rules that you're throwing out, Sarah, and all the rules that everyone else watching this is throwing away, is that we really start to follow what is calling us. And I have no idea what I'll be doing next year, and I'm completely okay with that now, because as you said, it's living in the moment that we get those whispers. And now that I'm just specialized in rebirthing, I really want to speak to the integrity that you mentioned before, of the courage that it is to transparently show up in who we are and then rearrange, as you said before from this workshop yesterday, of really allowing who we are to be held in the structure rather than trying to force who we are to be held in rigidity and constriction.
Oh, absolutely. The more we speak into it, the more permission we put out there,
Yes.
the more women that are going to be like, oh, that's what's been calling me. That's why I've been feeling stuck, blocked,
Yes.
air
Yeah.
quotes.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like I can crack open and play with who am I?
What
But
honors me? Mm,
exactly
mm,
what is lighting me up.
mm.
So when a woman come to you, where do you find they are starting from, and how does their transformation look?
They're always coming from a place of having some recent fresh grief. Something has fallen away in their lives. Something is no longer as it was. And it's normally grief is the greatest activator. I've walked away from a religion, I've walked away from my birth family. 2 years later, ended up walking away from my in-laws. And so I found myself in this place where the individual I'd constructed and worked hard to become, I just had to keep on departing from. And what that allowed me to do was to actually strip back and really permit myself to be a living embodiment of that child that never had the safety and permission to be fully expressed. And this is when we're not contrived, we're not rehearsed, we're not actually trying to follow any external structure that's been put on us, and we can actually really bring it through. And now, this rebirthing into resonance, where we're actually really committed to speaking our own truth, whether that has a positive or negative effect in our friendship pool, in our family, in the marketplace. Whenever we show up more clear and present to who we've actually become, that's always where there's the most magnetic, compelling draw. So it's always women that are in that grief and then they are lost. And so they're always experts in some field. They always have a body of knowledge. They've normally been in business for a while, or they've developed their career and they're in business on quite a lot of skill set certifications and knowledge bases. And what happens is that it gets really clunky holding all of our qualifications and all of our expertise. And it can kind of block people from seeing who we are. So my role is just to support them with the softness and the sanctuary to really feel safe sharing who they are that moved through all those pieces and finding the golden thread. So the golden thread for my life and my professional expertise is rebirthing. And what that looks like is other women being near someone who can reflect their soul medicine, sometimes for the first time, and help them take it in for themselves. That's really the activator in business, is when we have the courage to actually take in what we're wanting to dish out for everyone else.
Oh my gosh, what a beautiful metaphor, the soul medicine. And
Mm,
it's so there though, right? Our soul is always bringing us forward. And yet
mm.
sometimes we're just like, nope, not for us. No, no, no.
Oh, so
I
vulnerable.
I'm not gonna go there.
It's so terrifying. You know,
And
we know that, as you said, for me, that idea of sacrifice is that something needs to be sacrificed for our truth to come forward, and we don't know what it's going to be. And so we hold on to that version of ourselves that we constructed, but then that impedes the flow. And so everything starts to kind of feel stuck or stagnant or difficult. You start losing things the more you try to hold on to them, is what I've realized. Whereas when I just relinquish and really open up my hands and allow it to pass through, my quote is, I release that which does not belong to me so that I may hold what is truly mine. And the people in my life, the opportunities in my life, the connections that I have, as this kind of buoyant reciprocity and mutual respect that I had no clue was even available back when I was contorting and controlling myself to be what other people wanted me to be. And I think we need more models of how easeful it is once you pass through those degrees of sacrifice. I wish I knew the level of love and belonging, safety and peace that was available on the other side of those losses.
it's because we put it in the too hard basket, right? We think that's gonna be so difficult. It's too hard. I'm just gonna blank it off. And then when it gets to the point where you're like, there's no choice now, it's going through the tunnel of darkness.
Yeah.
Knowing that on the other side is actually going to feel really freaking good when you get there.
When you get there, and when you have modeling that allows you to see that no one taught us to actually grieve, no one has actually shown us how to name our losses and give significance to what other people just didn't even recognize or see at the time. And for me, really, I gave 2024, I set my business to part-time. And I allowed myself to take up a lot of time using a whole year to actually grieve and actually grieve the pieces, because life doesn't give you time. Like, something will happen, you'll have a friendship that will, move, and there'll be more distance. And then we've just got so many tasks. We don't allocate any time for grief, right? And so my whole year was, how do I have the courage to actually feel the depth of what no one showed me I'm allowed to? And right down at the bottom of the tank was actually deep conviction that I knew what I stood for, I knew what I valued, and I knew that I stood with myself, because every one of my experiences of grief and loss was actually relinquishing what was not really true and resonant to who I was. It felt like cutting my own hand off to go through these experiences, and I would just advocate doing it again and again, because the false belonging of staying in allegiance with what is absolutely deception and masquerading and posturing, it steals the knowledge of who we actually are from us, and I'm not prepared to pay that.
Mm. And I think it's important to point out grief is not just losing a loved one through death.
No. No.
That's really important to acknowledge. Uh,
Yeah, it's lost opportunities. It's situations that didn't go the way that we wanted. It's the miscarriages. It's the things that we're not allowed to talk about, which is the abandoned dreams. When someone puts the kibosh on, you tell them this wonderful idea that you've had, and they just cut it short. And then we allow that to happen, and we don't fund and fuel our dream. And I feel like some of those pieces are so illegitimate that then we just walk around holding all of these broken dreams and broken moments because we lose so many versions of ourselves, Sarah. I can see that you have shed many versions of yourself. I missed them. But last year, I just put them in the ground and I put flowers on the top. And I was like, I love you and I miss you dearly. And that is over. And then what is here now? Because we all want to become this amazing version of ourselves, but we don't realize that it's not in aspiring to it, but shedding everything that we're not first, and then it can safely rise to the surface.
I love how you said safely,
Mm,
because if we're not in a safe zone, it won't come through, right? You
no.
have to be in a state of safety to be able to receive.
Huge safety and keep going because grief has this way of linking that when we feel the feeling and the texture of some of the losses that we've endured, we like to compartmentalize and go, that breakup, I'm now ready to grieve. And then you're like, that breakup was connected to that breakup, connected to that friendship loss, connected to that thing that happened in high school. And we're like, we don't expect it to kind of cascade down. But when we circumvent it and stop it, then we don't get to the bottom. And for me, I wish someone had told me if I followed all of those strands that whatever really deeply saddened me to lose confirmed what I truly value in this life and authentic connection, genuine belonging, uh, really sacredly speaking truth to ourselves and others. They're the things that I now know I would stand on forever. But when we don't allow ourselves to grieve, we don't really know what we're committed to. What do we really care about, hey?
Oh my goodness. When I was in the dating world, that would be a question that I ask people, like, what do you believe in?
Yeah.
And the amount of times that I got back, I don't know, nothing. Just my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, okay, first of all, maybe not going to be my person. Also, hopefully, just by asking this question, it sets you off on a deeper ponder.
Yes.
But it amazed me how many people were not willing to step forward and be curious about
Mm.
what is their truth.
Yeah, because it hurts. It hurts to find it out initially, and there's going to be some sacrifice involved. That the illusion and the delusion of who we think we are is something that we really like to hold on to. And so getting near that question requires us to sacrifice the false information that we let masquerade the truth. And once we go through a few of these and life did it to me, we're just like, and you're like, is this how I really look? Like, is this my truth? And then I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna love it. If that's, with my children, I'm like, look, you love who you get. Do you know what I mean? There's no, I was, this preference and that preference, and I heard my parents, I prefer this about this child and that, and I'm just like, I'm gonna love who I get, but I love who I've been made into. Like my role here is, I don't have any choice around this, is my personal belief. And how do I love who I am so that the people that are meant to connect with me can find who I really am? And if I'm hidden under all of these facades, then they won't get what they need and I won't get what I need. Hey.
Mm, absolutely, absolutely. And how important is it to understand at a core level that we don't we don't have a choice. We are who we are. We have the thread that's pulling us forward, and we can go through different modalities that help us find and nail down and like put a label on these things, which can I find really helpful, because when I hear a description about who I am and I'm like, it's me, it allows me permission to step forward and go, okay, who I am is exactly, got no words, they're trying to come out too fast, is exactly the Sarah that is meant to be showing up right now. And while this path pulling me forward might feel uncomfortable and scary as hell,
Yeah.
I'm putting one foot in front of the other.
Amazing. I know it's essential because if we've been in the personal development, healing world for a while, there's a lot of ideas that are touted and tossed around about, it's not, it's making yourself into who you want to be. And there's all of these quotes where we talk about building ourselves up and deciding and choosing. And for me, that just never resonated. And I actually had this incredible intuitive whisper that was like five elements, five elements. And I was like, what on earth is five elements? And I looked it up and I knew it was some Chinese thing that felt very obscure for me. And then within weeks, a book fell out at the library, and then I read it, and then I hired the lady, and then I trained with her, and I'm 9 years in now to this I Ching, nine-star key archetype profiling system. And I had the lucky chance to have a look at your beautiful archetype profile because when I'm with people, understanding the beauty of who you are really helps me to know how to correlate with you. So showing you respect is vital. Giving you space and really being reciprocal in this interview were like core things where other archetypes won't like that. So I want to know, how do I co-create with Sarah to have the most fun? And that system, in the system, I'm the mountain archetype, which is the wise teacher, which is about not having my core needs met as a child, and then being deeply discerning for what others need and having that profound innate wisdom of being able to say the right thing at the right time to the right person to really steer them on their path. And I had been doing that since a child. I was kind of coaching or mentoring my friends at school. The teacher would explain something and they go, I don't get it. And so I just retranslate it according to that person. And they'd be like, oh, that's so simple. Like, why couldn't a teacher tell me that? And I'm like, well, because they're locked in their viewpoint. So for me, doing my children's archetype profile, like this is really a huge part of my work because once we can realize that not only are we all exquisite and beautiful and we all have strengths, but we have all been deeply shamed for the truth of who we are. And that's my background, really being ridiculed and criticized, firstly and foremostly by my mother, who was my first bully, and having repeated attacks right through until 2 years ago. I feel like I have no idea why who I am is so deeply confronting for people, but it's because I refuse to bow to their expectations. And that, right, confronts the system, as you well know, Sarah. So I feel very happy to see the visionary that you are someone who really thinks about the long term. You're someone who thinks about your 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, which this archetype and one other, the only ones that do that. So you're like, where's your forethought? Like, are you not thinking of your future? Like, you probably look around at humanity sometimes. I'm like, tisk, tisk, tisk. If only you had, and there's this beautiful ability for you that can really soften at the same time and listen to something that someone says and draw out some piece of beautiful wisdom where you're showing women how deeply wise they are for themselves. And that wouldn't have happened as much for you, which is why it becomes our medicine. I love, my quote that my heart gave me was, we become the substance of the absence of our lives.
Wow. Wow.
Whatever we were denied and deprived, we know how incredibly valuable it is because of its lack. And then we actually then will become that very thing. And we can see this in all professions and all careers. But I feel like this is the pivotal time in human history where we want to acknowledge I had no wise elders. I had no one stewarding me. I had no one thinking about my future. I had no one leaning down and listening to me and calling me back to my own wisdom. So that is now all I do. It's just creating sanctuary for a woman to feel so seen and so heard that she can authorize her own knowing. So for me, I teach and preach feminine authority, which would no doubt, I was keeping that up my sleeve, as would resonate for you because that's what you've done, authoring this beautiful book forging and blazing this beautiful trail in business and really trusting your intuition over the voices of the world.
And it's not all that you do, it's everything that you do, because all feels like it minimizes it, whereas what you do is so expansive to every single person that comes across you, whether it be through your social media, whether it be one on one, whether it be just hearing about your journey today. So beautiful.
Mm.
Wise elders. I feel like we need to bring back the wise elders of our tribes.
Agreed. And I actually deeply believe that women called into business are actually those wise elders because of that statement that we become the substance of the absence of our past, that elders are dead. They died a very long time ago. And the more dominant the patriarchy became, obviously those people were dangerous, right? And so we know that they have been so condemned and shamed and pushed out that we're actually being raised by children who are just in big adult bodies who are just bumbling around with unmet needs, clashing into one another and us over and over and over again. So there's this certain calling that I feel when women go into business. They don't always know what they're doing. They're intuitively led in, as you've said you were. But it's because we know the consequence of the knowledge that life has given us not being known. And it's that ignorance, I feel, that really drives every woman to be like, we need to know this, we need to share this. You know, for me, feminine authority, I just wish I could preach that to the whole world, that men too, through their feminine intuitive side, will always have to the moment guidance, that if they had the courage to act with conviction, we would be living in a very different world where everyone was seen, everyone was protected, and everyone was known. Because if we just look at our periphery and we stood as a wise elder for those in our sphere, that's sufficient. But we've been taught to have blinders. We've been taught, right, to just get caught up in consumerism and capitalism and actually forget that we're all in this together and that we have the medicine that one another needs.
I do. I have been told, oh, you're one of those, are you? And I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, I'm one of those. I am a woman who believes in rising other women up because we have generations, millennia of feminine wisdom that runs so deeply through our blood. We just need to turn it on. We need to hit the go button. We need to open our throat chakras and talk and be
Mm,
seen and know that we are so safe and held to be doing this, to
yeah, agreed.
say what
Yeah,
comes through. Absolutely. So many years of persecution with so many generational things. And like you said, we were like, totally agree when you said we were raised by children in adult bodies.
yeah,
Right now is the time we are
yeah.
stepping forward and reclaiming our feminine. And
Well,
love
I
it.
love seeing your embodiment of that. It's so beautiful. And I love the clarity and the conviction in your voice because that has been forged through many sacrifices, no doubt.
That's it. It's that time as we're recording, it's that time of the year where reflections are happening. And as much as I have in the past, like resented having to be strong and resilient, it is what has brought me here today. And now I
Mm,
embrace it. Now I celebrate it. The
mm,
challenges that have been hard and had me on my knees and had me walking through the mud are the challenges that has the conviction in my voice, that has me knowing my truth for the first time in my life at 40 years old now.
oh
And
my goodness, what
I
a
love it.
reclamation.
So I love it when people challenge me. Oh, you're one of those. Yes, I am one of those. And do you want to hear my thoughts on it? Actually, because I'm quite
Yeah, no, sit down.
happy.
There's more. There's more where that came from.
Let's have a school on it. I had to laugh before when you were saying about my archetype. Seeing into my 50s, it was like you were in a conversation with my boyfriend the other day when I'm going, well, when I'm 85 and you're there and blah blah blah, and he goes, I can't even see that far. Like,
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like, how can you not see that far? And I'm
yeah.
getting offended and rejected. And he's like, why are you going there? Like
Yeah. And
having
this is what happens, these natural inclinations that are so innate, right? That we didn't choose, that we didn't manufacture, that our environment didn't instill in us, are then what makes us different. It's very othering for us. and then we're projected upon, right? So in contrast to our partners, our friends, our families, well, you're to this. And it's like I was called a know-it-all. I was called a know-it-all in my family. It was like, get a soapbox, and I'm literally here to teach. Literally was born with wisdom in my bones. And that was why I self-published 4 books, because I was so full. I couldn't sleep properly. The thoughts would just move in my body. And so, drawing them out and organizing them. And then my career just kept on progressing. And this is where you take these things like a know-it-all, right? Growing up in Australian culture where you're shamed if you're going to assert your voice as a woman. Well, I've literally built a career on that. And people come to me for wise guidance for complex situations when they're navigating grief and a huge transition professionally that is dependent on their livelihood. Do you know what I mean? They're like, send in Leela Black, she'll be able to meet that and really gently hold it. But when we don't understand that that's what's happened, we move through the world with these gaping wounds of other people trying to tear us down. And this is why 9 years into this body of work, I just love confirming people. I'm like, no, you're right. No, you're right. No, that's exactly how you meant to be. No, that's perfect about you. I could just do that all day, and I do. That's my life.
Love it. I love it. If you need a boost, go and see Leela Black. She's your girl. She's the hype girl everyone needs. Oh my
I love
gosh.
hyping people.
I have like one big question that I
Yeah,
want to go there before we need to wrap it up.
yes.
Moving from Christianity,
Mm,
very structured,
yeah,
very rigid,
yes.
and really indulging into your spirituality.
Mm.
How was that transition for you?
Yeah, like a nightmare, like you're standing in a tall 3-story wooden house, and the floor has just fallen out underneath you, and you're caught in the cascade of debris. Like 36 years I'd constructed my whole perception of the world through a lens that I'd been indoctrinated in, and it's a very patriarchal lens and a very disparaging lens towards women as well, right? That on my wedding day, my husband agreed to obey God, and I agreed to obey my husband. And I looked at him when we made that agreement, and I was just like, nostrils flaring, enraged that I would be cut out of that relationship with the divine, and that I would have to bow to him and then he could connect with the divine. I'm like, absolutely not. And later on, I'm like, that's not going to be the way it's going to be. So I feel like once we have had a significant loss, and anyone who's walked away from a career, a degree, a relationship, a family member will know the same thing, is that it's very fragmented for a long time. We literally have to piece by piece pick up everything in our internal world and reevaluate, well, is this true too? And go through that sorting process. And that was 3 years for me of sorting it out and vetting, how do I discern what is true for me? And you have to experiment with it. So I now pray to Mother every day. My intuition is the voice that gives me feminine authority, that the only thing I'm doing is ever acting on my knowing and really tuning into what that is moment by moment, like you said before, and the miracles that come from and the ease and the peace. And I'm really happy that I've had my whole world shattered. But it was completely devastating, and it's happened to me many times now. And so I'm ready for the next one. I know I'm never immune. And I would rather be stripped back to have the privilege of being acquainted with who I truly am, because that's all we can offer in the world. That I believe that is all that is truly valuable at all. Everything else is just going to absolutely wither away and die.
Mm, beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing. It's
Thank you, Sarah. Great
a big
question.
topic. I was identified spiritually and then delved into the Christian world and was really enjoying learning about it. And I find I don't fit into the box enough.
Ah,
And
most people don't.
that is okay for me because I get very clear vision. I get very clear communication on what is true for me to know right now. And I have got to a point where I'm really comfortable holding my position in the world around that. And
Amazing.
yeah, so I just thought it was really curious that you brought it up because many people will be in the realms of whether it be religion, spirituality, jobs, like you said, any sort of area in life where you feel like you you're banging on the walls now. You've grown too big for what you have been constricted in,
Yeah.
and knowing that it's okay to break out of it, to shatter everything. You will be okay. You will be safe. And there's beautiful people like yourself to hold them in that icky discomfort, baby chicken
Yeah.
stage where you feel disgusting, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah,
Everything's
it's
gonna be right.
beautiful. We're always resourced. The right person shows up. I left church and I think 2 weeks later I found Women Who Run with Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, and I'm like, I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna be okay. And yeah, we really are resourced far beyond what we can fathom. And this is where anyone who's navigating the world purely from their rational intellect is so deeply limited to all the trauma from their past. No wonder it's just this to and fro oscillation, that our intuition exists beyond our past pain, and it can see into the future and guide us with the precise moment at the precise time. And I feel like everyone's getting it. I feel like we're all like, yes, intuition, yes, listening to the soft voice, yes, to really holding back the resistance that comes from our fear. And if there's anyone who's brave and bold to face all of that, it is women on purpose in business. The calling goes beyond, income. This goes beyond status, it goes beyond popularity. When you get to sleep at night knowing that you've lived true to who you are, I feel like I'm ready any day. I'm like, I am so ready for death. And I feel like that's a real privilege to be able to declare, hey.
Oh, I just got full body goosebumps.
Mm.
Full body goosebumps. Ooh, oh my goodness. Leela, on that note, I want to know, how do you embody your empress?
For me, it's luxury and opulence. Like, my rose perfume today, and I've got like a beeswax candle. I've got like beautiful white roses here in my office. I think it's indulging my senses. My husband got me salmon for breakfast, and that'll be like once every 2 months. And I just was like, and today's the day. I think it's my empress. The more I nourish her and feed her with baths and beautiful friendship calls, I feel like the rest of the world really shines in that kind of resplendent beauty that reminds us we're exactly where we need to be. We're guided, safe, held at all times. And if we don't have something we need, it's literally just where we are. It's like the amount of times that I'm like, I need this, and then the friend will call, or I look down and it's on the floor, or I just open a book and it's there. I feel like the Empress archetype has really taught me that when I do indulge in anything that I can, even if it's just like massaging my own hand, that luxury connects us to the heavens in a way that we are infinitely resourced.
Self touch is so powerful.
Oh my
I
God.
have just been like self massaging like for the last couple of weeks, like all the time. And there is something that is so sensual and also bigger than me. Like it reminds me I'm just humaning right now, and there is so much more. And I'm just humaning.
Oh.
It's very hard to explain, but
No, it's beautiful. I'm
you just see.
Taurus, so I rub my own feet. I get back rubs and foot rubs and massages on my scalp from my husband, and my son doesn't like it. But my little girl will just come in and I'll be like, "Would you like a facial, a back rub, or a foot rub?" And she'll be like, "All three." And I'm like, "Okay, okay then." And we just put the relaxing music on in the background, and I feel like these simple indulgences can seem like frivolous, and I go that they're deeply nurturing. Each of us is called to face so much in a day here now. Life has become so rapid. If we're not resourced, like that massage literally penetrates the skin and expands the soul. We feel
Mhm.
more seen, more held, more nurtured. So may we allow ourselves to receive what we need to really be expanded to meet the moment.
And what were our old wise ones doing? They were always touching, always
Mm,
touch.
I love that.
Beautiful. And next question, what does your Empress energy feel like?
Feel like. It feels like an opulent garden. Moving to this house, I created a moon garden, which is having everything in bloom in white. So I got white roses and all these white flowers, and And I've held this dream for like 15 years. We just got our first house last year, and now that it's there, I feel like Empress energy is fecundity, prosperity. Um, it's the beautiful extension of the full bloom. And for me, I'm numerology 30/3. So, according to the tarot, I actually am Empress energy. And I remember as a little girl, I always liked beautiful things, whether it was costly or not costly. I really like beautiful things. And I was teased for that. Oh, you always like what's expensive. And, it was very inconvenient for some family members. But that is literally a reflection of my energy, right? And so this is what can be so powerful with these I Ching archetypes. I call them resonant truth archetypes. Is we're actually becoming more acquainted with who we really are. So I think Empress energy is a reflection of the part in all of us that is truly prosperous and abundant.
I love that. Truly prosperous and abundant. And what's wrong with liking expensive things? We are here to play this
Exactly.
world,
What's the
right?
point of money if it's not to buy beautiful, exquisite things?
Exactly. I love buying myself roses and having them around the house.
Hmm.
Love it. Okay, and our final question. What are your parting words of wisdom for inspiring your nation?
Wow. That everything you've been shamed for has called forward the medicine that you're here to bear. I feel like if I had known that all the times that I contracted and shrank and felt outcast and exiled and ridiculed and unseen, and that would kind of bestow upon me the ability to then really see people and really co-create a deeper sense of belonging and connection and witnessing. I just feel like, last year the scales really tipped, and finally I could really appreciate all of the challenges that my life has given me. And so I just hold that to be true for everyone. I never have pity for anyone's difficult circumstances, because I know within that are the seeds of their greatness. And may we have the courage to really plant those seeds and allow ourselves to see what happens when we do.
Wow. What an amazing chat, Leela.
So fun. Beautiful questions. Love co-creating with you, Sarah.
Me too. Like, I could go on forever. I know we can't. My whole body is just alight. It is on
Hmm.
fire
Hmm.
with just passion and invigoration and the joy that we have here in our hands that we can walk through our life, regardless of anything external. We hold it in our hands and we get to be the curators of this beautiful world. So
So
special.
well said. I hold that vision. I hold that intention beside you.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing your passion, your wisdom, your intuitive knowledge, your inspiration here today. I know so many women are just going to be like light bulb moments, jotting them down, holding them, bringing them in to see if they can play with it. Is it their truth? Like I know when you said you dancing naked under the moonlight, I'm like, oh, I can see some women grabbing that and running. If it's their permission slip, they're like, yes, Leela's doing it. We are on it. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for all you do in this world.
Same. And I really want to acknowledge all of the heartbreak that you consecrated into this beautiful book that you have, and this like vibrant bonfire heart that's really encouraging more women to step into empire-like mindset rather than business or income, and really thinking about expansive impact. You embody that beautifully. And I just love this top. And so I'm really excited for my people to meet you as well and see another woman who has authorized her own feminine knowing to be the wisest, truest voice above all.
Beautiful. That is what we're here for. No more playing it small. Let's do it. Thank you so much.